So I just beat Spider-Man Miles Morales. My name is Lion If I Rule, and this is Spider-Man Miles Morales. As you could probably imagine, I just said the name, but whatever. That was my fault. So this game was very interesting. The story arc was very short. They brought Rhino back. I was primarily fighting a group called Roxxon, and I was primarily trying to stop the Tinker, who happened to be my good friend Finn, because her brother had died. Stopping an arc reactor from blowing up. Finn wanted to do the same thing, set the arc reactor off, but Miles, this bad person who he thought was good, actually cut a deal with people and made it really hard to be able to do. And changed the numbers, and instead of just blowing up the plaza, which was what it was originally intended to do, the Roxxon arc reactor originally intended to do, he changed the numbers to make sure that it would blow up and vaporize all of Harlem. Yeah, not a good thing. So I was able to I managed to stop it. I had to chase Tinker throughout the city a few times, which was a lot of fun. Gave me a run for my money. She started this group called the Underground, and they're a band of thugs and a bunch of people like that, just doing heaven knows what, causing all kinds of trouble, raising all kinds of buildings and whatever. So ultimately, because of that, the fear and rage let Finn take over her, and then I had to pretty much stop Finn because she was hell-bent on destroying everything and everybody that she possibly could, and it didn't matter what she was doing, and it didn't matter who she hurt either, which was not really, it was not a good thing at all. So there was that. I also had to stop Rhino a few times from breaking into the facility. So then at the very end, I got to do this ultimate fight, this ultimate showdown with Roxxon and Underground and everybody like that. And ultimately then I ended up fighting Finn. And I eventually knocked enough sense into her to be able to be like, hey, the Ark, listen, your buddy who you thought you were working for is working primarily only for himself and is going to vaporize all of Harlem. Luckily, before everything else happened, she was able to figure that out. I was able to stop the arc reactor enough to make sure that it didn't completely blow up all of the city, but to be able to stop the arc reactor from blowing up completely and vaporizing all of the city, we had to do the ultimate sacrifice. And it was super cool because Finn did some like flash stuff, ran up the arc reactor and went kaboom and blew it up, which was super awesome, super amazing. And then they were asking who, and then the newscasters came and wanted to get some comment on Spider-Man and whatever. I left because they said that they would take care of that for me to protect my identity. They wanted to know the actual person as to who I was. My mother finally accepted me as for Spider-Man. The reason why I kept fighting, Finn kept fighting and kept asking why I kept fighting, and it was primarily because I keep fighting because I'm Spider-Man.
Gotta go.
Call 911. Spider-Man's broken in and is killing us with fire.
Jameson.
This isn't delicious. Got a commercial, Jared. I got some feasting to do. Oh no, you should have ordered your own. This is mine. Mine, Jared. Out.
So I got told that I was a good Spider-Man, and then everybody else was like, "Who is he? What's his age?" And everybody, to protect my identity, was like, "He's our Spider-Man." They finally realized that I could do some good, and I'm not trying to impose or try to be anyone other but the Spider-Man that I am. And then after that, I went back to my apartment, met up with Pete. He apparently came back after everything was said and done. There were more crimes in town, took care of those. Pretty much said go time, and then we swung out of the camera, and then the credits rolled. And then the thing that you saw when the video first started was Norman Osborn from Oscorp talking to his son, who was in a Bacta tank, and he wanted the scientist to let him out. The scientist wasn't ready to let him out, but he let him out anyway. And now the credits are started from there, or started after that. And so the credits have been going for quite some time now, actually. Spider-Man was a very interesting game, or a very interesting concept, I should say. Stan Lee, the creator of Marvel Comics and the creator of Spider-Man, as well as Captain America and all the other, awesome comic books that we have nowadays. But Spider-Man in particular came by a spare of the moment. I'm gonna get a little nerdy here, so stay with me. I promise it's not too nerdy or too weird, but just stay with me. Okay, so Spider-Man happened by way of, he was sitting at his desk one day, sitting there by a window, and all of a sudden a fly came up on his desk. And he was like, alright, this is kind of cool. So then the next thing you know, a spider came up and got caught on the fly got caught on the spider web. And he was like, what's an interesting comic book or comic book hero that I can use that would be able to do something like that could stick to walls and be able to do acrobatic moves and various assortment of things like that. And he went through and he was trying to think of all these different things he could possibly think of. Everything that could rhyme with spider. He was like, just a whole list of different things. And finally he settled on Spider-Man. And I thought that was really interesting and really cool, because Spider-Man, that just had a certain ring to it. And Stan Lee was really good at being able to write comic books and stuff like that. Like I say, he'd been doing other Marvel comics. He did X-Men and a whole bunch of other things like that. But then he had to come up with a very interesting and gripping story that would be able to captivate most audiences. And so what he went with was this average ordinary guy by the name of Peter Parker. Average high school problems, average teenager. And got bit by a radioactive super spider. Then the transformation began, and he went from a dorky science geek who no one could, give a darn about, and went from a super scrawny science geek figuring out light refractions and quantum equations of who knows what, to skidding around or flying around the city of Manhattan, or New York, I should say, primarily in Manhattan, but all of around New York, and saving the day from thugs, beating up baddies, and stopping muggings, and all these other things like that. Excuse me, which I thought was pretty awesome in itself. But so yeah, I mean, it's totally awesome. Most teenagers, most kids can totally relate with Spider-Man and with the issues that he's going through. Another thing too that was very interesting about not necessarily just Spider-Man, but during like the era of, I guess, when comic books actually came out. They came out right around World War II era, the beginning of World War II, end of World War I. There was a little bit of a gap in between, but it was pretty much back to back if you think about it. And that was a time when really a lot of interesting things were happening all over the world, not just in the United States, but all over the world. And people needed some type of a hope that they could be able to get through another day. Speaking of, there's Sienna Lee, who happens to be, I'm guessing, Stanley's daughter or something. Excuse me. But so the comic books came out in a time of unrest around the world, and especially in the United States, because you have Captain America, who was set in World War II, who was placed under arrest for 300 years, and then he woke up and he's, this ultra buff guy who's, has no idea where the crap he is, but he's super amazing. And you have the Captain America shield, which is, and they're fighting against the Germans, and all these different things like that. And it was really gripping and really awesome, for one of two reasons. One, comic books are a medium to help you get rid of the treadmill, the mundane, the daily grind of life. But number two, it was a way for people to realize that we have a lot of things that are going on a lot of the time, and it's not just us who are affected by it. Everybody has their own certain stories, and everybody has their own demons and inner things that they're working through. But you can look to people who can help you. There are people out there who can help you, and it's just very nice to know that there are people out there who can do that for you, and that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and somebody to help you hold on to, and not lose hope and despair, to help you know that there's a light at the end of the at every tunnel. And that's what I think a lot of the things with Spider-Man are is just knowing that there's a light, and that there's a hero out there who will look out for people, which I thought was just awesome in itself. The attention to detail on the PS4 is amazing. I mean, the PS5 is already out, but I mean, it's what it is. It's fine, but which is really kind of interesting, because literally like 10 minutes after, I'm probably over stepping my guess here, but like 10 or 15 minutes after the PS4 rolls out onto the line, they're already thinking about how to make the next big awesome thing. For Sony, it so happens to be PlayStation, because that's where they make their money. Square, it's Final Fantasy or something else, or for game designers, it's the next game. For Nintendo, it was the Nintendo Switch. But before the Switch, it was the Wii U, and then the Wii, and the Super Nintendo, and the 8-bit, and wow, I just aged myself a lot. Wow. Anyway, they do this a lot to be able to see how they can be able to make the next big thing. It also depends a lot on sales too. How well the sale goes, and how well it's perceived, and how well it's taken. Because, you know, money just doesn't come out of thin air. As much as we like to think it does, it doesn't. There are people, there are business directors, there are marketing teams, there are partners, there are all these different companies that play who send things to different companies to be able to help make the PlayStation 4. There's the motherboard, there's the platform, there's the marketing, there's the head of Sony himself, there's, but you know, everything like that. And then on top of that, then there's, you know, there's just lots and lots of people who go into making stuff like this. It's not only for the console itself, for said games to be run, but for the game itself. I'm not a person who makes video games myself, but I know kind of a general idea of all of the things that go into making a good game. I've watched enough video game documentaries that I have a pretty clear picture of what's going on. You have the animation team, you have the drawing team, you have the texture team, you have the layer team, you have this team, you have that team, you have everything like that. And then after all that's all fun and down and dandy, then you have to do the rendering, which takes forever to do. Games literally take months or years to be able to get done. They start far in advance to be able to get their video done on time, their games done on time. Some of the time, though, unfortunately, with most games and with most things that just happen, complications arise, and for one reason or another, you have to scrap your game. It's a fact of life. It's a fact of just whatever, and it's really actually kind of sad. And then there are those games that, you know, make it to the big mass market, and they sell by, you know, the thousands and cajillions, and make oodles amount of money for whatever reason. And then there are those games that still make it through production and still make it through the laundry list of things before everything is said and done, after everything is said and done, that are like the hidden gems of the PS4, that like they're out there, they know what they are, they do good, but they're not as commercially known as some of the games would be. And those are super rare super rare to find nowadays, and if you find one, you are just over the moon excited because there were only so many that were made. And you happen to be the lucky one who was able to get one of those games. So now here's all the people who work for Marvel. Spider-Man, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Jaden Smith? What? Since when was Will Smith's kid a lyricist? It's pretty cool though. Yeah, just look at all these companies that go into making games like this to be able to make sure it works just right. Oh my goodness, so many 3D artists. It's ridiculous. I mean, I know why they have to have them. Because, you know, art's not gonna do itself, but dang, son. lemon sky. That's pretty funny stuff right there. Oh, and the music stopped. I thought it was still going. It means the credits are almost over. The software is provided as without warranty. Yeah, it's just basically saying do not copyright, do not do anything, do not share, do not record, or without Sony's written consent. If so, you will be officially done for the rest of your life and get sent to jail for like 6 years and or get fined like $60 gazillion. I love this legal stuff that they have to put in at the very end. Not really. Oh, legal. Love it. To do this, make sure you do it this way. And then POW Entertainment. It's awesome. And there's more. Now, after we save the city, what's going to happen? Miles is all beat up that her friend Finn died. His friend, I mean.
Goodbye, Finn.
Spacebound for Miles Finn Mason and Miles Morales. Congratulations, you have finished the story, but the adventure continues. You can now revisit previously completed missions with replay mission in the pause menu or completed FNSM in the app. Now you can change the time of day in the options menu and start a fresh adventure with ultimate difficulty. For added challenges, start new game plus to unlock new ones. Good luck. You are a freaking awesome hero.
Hey, Ma. You busy?
Not too busy. What's going on?
I just left Trinity Church. I was thinking about Finn. And
Tell me about it.
she saved my life. And yours. Everybody's. But she's the one who put us in danger in the first place. After seeing what happened to Rick, I get why she did it.
People are messy. Take your Uncle Aaron. He's the reason Krieger's in jail. And he helped us get people out of Harlem. But every
Ain't
time
that
I
the
look
truth?
at him, I think of all the pain he put your dad through.
Yeah.
You don't need to make a judgment on Finn's life, mijo. Or her death. Just remember who she was, and why you loved her.
You always know what to say.
That's my job. Call me back if you need me. Entiende?
Sí. Te quiero.
Well, my name is Lion If I Rule. This is Spider-Man Miles Morales saying peace out.